Folks, welcome into a new edition of Bullet Points. I'm one of your hosts today, Kevin Messeri. I am here with Mike Bunt, running a little bit late after the Sabres whopping victory here. Totally unexpected, Mike. So love to be a little bit later on in the evening for something like that. Buffalo sports are roaring this week. We'll take it where we can get it and hope to continue that trend in Buffalo here. Saturday noon game against Bunt's Bobcats. Very interesting game. One that I thought maybe preseason could have meant a little bit more than it might today, Mike. But as always, got to mention this show is brought to you by Hartman's Distilling Company. Get down. Look, Bunt is always ready with a Logan.
Always ready.
Hartman's. I'm excited to get my hands on a bottle tomorrow. Get down there and give Hartman's what a beautiful location. Get down there and get Hartman's a try as your sponsor of the Bullet Point Show. But Mike, let's jump into it now. Like I mentioned, thought this might be more meaningful than it might end up being here, Mike. Both teams are really looking to keep their season alive, for lack of a better term, against a pretty decent, somewhat decent rivalry. We won't call it the best, maybe not even the biggest in the MAC, but it's a game that, both teams definitely get up for. What are your initial thoughts on it, Mike?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Before the year, you would have thought this game might have had some meaning in the MAC East standings, but with both of them now having a loss and Kent State off to a hot start, it doesn't really seem like either team is really going to be in the race for the MAC East division title. But that said, you hit the nail in the coffin, and that's actually going to be part of my preview video tomorrow. Is right now you're just trying to avoid being in the cellar of the MAC East. Whoever loses this is going to have a pretty poor record. If you beat, you're 0-3, and then you're sitting at 2-5. Basically need to win out just to get to a bowl game. And for Ohio, for the most part, bowl game isn't even really something on their radar. They're just trying to have a respectable conference play with the opportunity to still play Kent State. So for Ohio, they still have that outside chance. It's not going to happen, but that outside chance of thinking, well, we can still play our way into a division title. For UB, it's just, let's make sure that we can still keep our bowl chances alive going into the later part of the season.
Yeah, and we got to start off the top. We'll have plenty of time for Bunt's Bobcats here, but we'll have to start off the top talking about the Kent State game. What a wild game that really was. So many ups and downs, just broken coverages, points, huge third quarter from UB, looking like they might have a chance to pull that one out with all the momentum. Didn't happen with another. We've talked about these faltering forts. We've talked about this on this show pretty extensively, and it's getting bad now. The fourth quarter is not good to the UB Bulls. I don't know if that's because if they're tied in games or down in games, that running game is not going to be as effective. I'm not really sure. I still need to dive into the tape a little bit more, Mike, on what is going on in this fourth quarter for UB. However, what were your initial reactions off of that loss against Kent State?
Yeah, that was a tough one. They just were the inferior team. Kent State was better, and it was clear as day to see that. I went down to Kent for the game, and I had a good time. Honestly, I got all the fast food places I wanted to get to in Ohio. So besides the game, I was going to have a good time regardless. But it was total destruction early on. Kent State was getting whatever they want, and the UB defense is supposed to be the strength of this team. But, Kev, you have always been critical of the secondary, and rightly so. Going into this game, I said that I thought you need to be aggressive against Dustin Crum and make him prove that he can throw over the top. But, my God, what a mistake that was by my strategy. He threw over the top, and not only did he do it once or twice, he was doing it consistently the entire game. And the only reason why they didn't score more points was because he missed on a few throws. I swear, every single time they sent a guy deep, they had 2, 3, 4 yards of separation, and Dante Cephas just absolutely obliterated the Bulls secondary. In the third quarter, that was something else for UB to score 28 points and then take a brief lead. They were hitting on all cylinders, and then you go into the fourth quarter, and you knew Kent was going to score. You knew they were going to get some of the momentum back. And what concerned me the most was when the Golden Flashes got the momentum back, we started seeing conservative Coach Mo again. This is a team that is not good enough to play conservative in the big moments. Now, the 24-yard field goal missed by McNulty, that is not Coach Mo's fault, and that would have tied the game. I have no problem kicking that field goal. But when you let them go down the field to go up 10, and then you are looking at a 45-yard field goal, I don't care if it's 4th and 10 or what the distance is. Your kicker just showed that he doesn't have the accuracy to make a chip shot. Even if you make the field goal with 8-9 minutes, however much time is left, do you really think your defense is going to get a stop in that situation? They have shown no ability to get a stop the whole game. They allowed well over 600 yards. To me, that was Coach Mo doing the traditional coach's playbook. I'm going to kick the field goal, and then if he makes it, I can say I made it a one-score game, and if he misses, well, it just happens. But I thought outside of the third quarter, it was a pretty poor game all around by all phases of UB, and it's clear Kent State's the favorite now, and unless something of a miracle happens, they're going to be the team representing the MAC East this year.
And I thought they'd threaten last year. I was wrong about that. They were okay. They were good. They just didn't quite threaten enough as like I thought Kent would do. But this year they are threatening. They kind of came out of nowhere. Just Crumbs developed nicely. The Cephas. Let's get into the stats of the game. 633 total yards from Kent State. Can't have it. You can't have it in a MAC game. You're not playing, a top end, Power 5 school. You can't have a 633-yard day. You just straight up can't. This isn't 7 overtimes against Western. Can't have that kind of performance. That's just not good enough. 549 yards. I was watching the game with someone casual UB fan. They're like, does this conference play defense? They just, and I'm like, I can't defend it when there's 1,200 yards. I don't have any defense for a 1,200-yard performance. That's borderline five games.
And the Kent State defense was terrible too. I mean, they both
weren't great.
And what I think the scarier point is this. When I refer to like UB being good, we've had a lot of these bullet point conversations where we go at it with one another. But when I say UB is good, I'm not saying they're a top 60 team in the country. A lot of times when I'm saying UB is good, I'm referring to them compared to their competition in the MAC. But when you look at Kent State, they played Texas A&M, they played Iowa, Maryland, and then they played VMI, who they destroyed. And I'm not going to it's hard to evaluate when you're playing the big dogs because on one hand, they're so much more talented that you don't really expect to see the production. And maybe that battle tested is what Kent needed to get on fire. But Kent State struggled to score points against all three of those teams. So even though those are elite programs, at least Texas A&M and Iowa, it's not like UB should be allowing 600 yards against Kent State.
No.
It's okay if you allow 30, 35 points in like 450 yards. Like that's not great, but like you could survive and UB could win a game like that. To allow 600 yards and I'm calling the defense the strength of this team, that's scary.
Yeah, that's scary. Points for 29. Average, that's 119th in the country. It's just not getting it done on any facets, any end of the spectrum right now for the team. So, I thought Crumb's numbers were skewed because you just went over why some of the large opponents that they played. And last week, I was like, well, is Crum really going to be the Crum that, people could have expected from him? And I'm sitting here saying, yeah, it reminds me a lot of the Oats teams that would go out and play, kind of the earlier Oats teams that would play strong competition. And then come MAC play, they would be the best team in the conference. And that's what you saw here. And then toward the latter end of Oats' tenure, they were winning those Power 5 games, obviously, as many know, in tournament games, getting himself a job at Alabama and beyond. But it's kind of the same strategy from Kent State here playing. They knew they probably didn't have a great shot. They struggled a little bit against Bowling Green in that opener, MAC opener. But Dustin Crum really got going for 400 yards. It's just too many for what happened. 407 yards, a whopping 11.3 yards per attempt, and 5.2. It's double what Kyle Van Treese is able to output, going 23 for 44 for 229 yards, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. I mean, that's from a redshirt senior. It's just not good enough. I mean, there's just no better way to put it for me. It's just not good enough for what you expect. And could there be multiple facets? In the bullet points chat, we talked about it. Could there be multiple reasons? I'm not just pinning it on Kyle Van Trees. It's just not good enough from a team that was ranked last season. You can't have that kind of performance from the quarterback spot. Anyways, you get into some positives of the game. Dylan McDuffie looked very good, 10 for 87, 8.7 yards per carry and a touchdown. Kevin Marks played a little bit better than he has this season, 16 for 80 and 2 touchdowns. And Ron Cook Jr. still continues to do his thing, 14 for 72. Keon Williams, probably one of the saving graces of this passing game, coming over from EMU, 8 for 86, continues to dominate MAC play with Cephas. Still above Cephas and receiving yards. So that's cool to see. Just not much to really note on the defense. Just a flat performance. It is on the road. I'm struggling to see how this team's going to win many games on the road, Mike. As you look down the schedule with Akron, they should probably take care of. Miami of Ohio, and it's no gimme. And neither is Ball State at this point after what they've been able to do a little bit. They've had some wins against WMU, Army. That's not a gimme either. So the schedule gets tough. I'm not feeling great about my 6-6. To be honest, preseason, I'll pick them as they go. Let's turn the tables, though, to this Ohio game. What we're all here for today is to talk about Ohio. Turn this page. One of these teams is staying alive. I think that's fair to say. One of them, the loser's probably out of anything serious. But as you look at it, we're going to start at the top with Ohio. We expect, maybe you did, maybe I did. We all did. I expected a little bit more out of what I was hearing from Rourke. He was a guy that was supposed to be better than his brother. Is that kind of what I heard for rumblings or initial on from Curtis Rourke? And then he's just not anymore. Is he going to continue? Let's start there. Is he going to continue to be the starting quarterback of the Ohio Bobcats?
Honestly, I'm not even sure to be quite frank with you. It's an interesting situation. So we all know about how Lance Leipold left UB and Coach Mo had about 115 days. Well, yep. Ohio had a similar situation, some similarities, some differences. So Coach Frank Solich, who's been with the program forever, leaves the program in mid-July, just out of nowhere. Doctor recommended him to retire because he was dealing with some heart issues. And next thing you know, your offensive coordinator for the long time takes over as head coach. So you'd think with a program like Ohio, a lot of continuity, they've been with the same staff forever, that you'd be pretty much seeing the same team. But it's been anything but. And the thing with Rourke that I guess has been tough for Ohio is used to having a dual threat quarterback. Going back to when I went to school there in 2009, guys like Boo Jackson, Theo Scott, Tyler Telleton, Nathan Rourke, they've always had the guys that were a threat in the option game, but also decent enough passers to really open things up. Curtis is not a mobile quarterback. He cannot run. He cannot get to the edge. So their option game is basically non-existent when he's in the game. Now, Ohio is similar to UB for the most part, in which they don't recruit at a high level. They've been winning consistently for the last 15 years with 2-star guys that they just develop, kind of like what Leipold did in the beginning at UB. The problem is when you have a pocket passer that is no threat to run the ball, and you have these 2-star wide receivers going up against players that are just better than them, they don't get open. And as a quarterback, you're forcing things. And Curtis, he's technically a third-year redshirt freshman because of all the COVID rules. Hasn't been able to figure it out. Guys are not getting separation, and the offense has been stagnant. But on the other problem is you think, okay, he's not working, make an adjustment. Well, their backup quarterback, Armani Rogers, who's a transfer from UNLV and the son of former Buffalo Bills linebacker Sam Rogers, who played in Buffalo from 94 to 2000. He's a great athlete. He can run with the best of them, but he sucks at passing the ball. So you have one guy that is a gunslinger, and you have another guy that can't throw the ball if his life depended on it. Rodgers, for his career, he's in his 5th year, is a 50.7% passer completing the ball. So when you have Rodgers in the game, all they're going to do is run the ball. Now he had a decent game last week against Central Michigan, finding some guys, but they're just too one-dimensional when either guy is in the game. And their running game, which has been their bread and butter for so many years, Tuggle and Allison are decent names, but they're really not killing it. Tuggle has a good stat line, but their offense has been horrible, and their defense is allowing 31 points a game, and their offense, I think, is 116th in the nation, scoring 19 points a game. They've been playing bad football, and it's as simple as that. Only excuse I can make for them is that they opened the year against Syracuse, who's been better than what people thought going into the year. They're 3-3, but they're respectable right now. They beat Liberty earlier this year. They played a Louisiana team that's 5-1 that is clearly better than them. And then they played Northwestern, which, while not lighting things on fire in the Big Ten, they have a good defense, and it's tough for a MAC team to match up against any Big Ten team. So the Duquesne loss is really the one loss where Bobcats fans are scratching their heads. But this is not an Ohio team that you've seen the last 10, 15 years, and they might have their first losing season since 2008.
Wow. First losing season since 2008, huh? I think it's in the cards, and they're going against a UB team that is scoring 31 points per game for the most in the MAC at this point. I mean, I don't know. Would anyone have guessed that?
That's kind of ironic considering every week we're kind of criticizing the offense, but that Wagner game really kind of makes the stats kind of upside down.
Yeah, I mean, they're 10th in the conference in passing, so I mean that's a thing. They're 3rd in the conference in rushing. They're 3rd in conference in yards per game, so 186 points. Where is that coming from? It is skewed. So if you were to look at advanced statistics, say in baseball, whether baseball players use FIP or Sierra or expected batting average, they're playing above. The offense is playing above their actual output. So, if you look at, 10th in passing and leading the conference in offense, I don't know about that. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So
what do you think about it? Take out the Wagner game. So they're averaging 31 points a game. They score 69 against Wagner. That's 38 points. Divide by UB's 2 and 4 right now. Divide by 6. So you're talking about essentially they're scoring 6.5 points less per game if you take the Wagner game out. So they're about a 25 point per game team. That's still not awful. I mean, honestly, that is higher than what
puts you in the middle of the MAC. Yeah, puts you in the middle of the MAC. And that's realistically on the offensive side, it's where they are for as good as their running game can be. I just still think the quarterback's holding them back. And I'm not sitting here pumping the brakes saying that they have an answer. I don't know. Like I had some difficulties with Matt Myers early on. That was freshman. With a pretty good UB team, I had some issues with him as a freshman being gun shy. Some of the things similar to the current starting quarterback, but I don't know if they're in Trevor Baczynski. I don't know if there's anything there, Case. I don't know that they would go that route. So really looking at Myers, how much better will he really play, Mike? I don't know, but you should pretty much find out after the Ohio game. If something goes wrong in the Ohio game, I think you need to look at the bat position group. But we've talked about UB's offense pretty strong amount. We've already talked about Van Trees. We talked about Marks and McDuffie and Cook. It's a pretty good 3-headed monster. You get into the receiving core and there's just nothing there. There's nothing there across the board except Keon Williams. It is just how teams aren't triple covering the guy. I don't know. Let's see what Dominic Johnson does to you, or LeBourne, or it's one of those guys. I mean, these guys have single digit catches. I would double cover at least realistically Keon Williams, and I don't know. Let's see if Molinich or Borland or one of these guys that can beat you. You have a kicker who can't. 5 for 11. Alex McNulty is. You can't kick him anymore. I mean, if you're under 50% clip, going for it's a better move statistically across the board. It's a better move. They've had struggles all time in special teams. Punting's been a wreck from Balter. To whatever it is that they think that they're going to do at that punting spot. It's just been a mess, Mike. So
yeah,
special teams are wreck. I have some issues with how well it's playing in general. What's your opinion?
I think the couple things that you brought up, I do think there might be some talent at wide receiver and other positions like quarterback that are lower on the depth chart, but they're just too young right now and not polished enough. So it's really tough. Like a lot of these recruits, they weren't Mo's recruits, and they're coming in, he hasn't had years of building relationships with them. Like, so at the Kent State game, I randomly tailgated with a player's parents, and for example, a guy Ali Fisher, dude was a 3-star wide receiver recruit out of Michigan. He had offers from Kentucky. He was getting looked at by big time schools.
How's he not good enough to play? It doesn't make sense.
Like that, you wonder that. Well, he did deal with COVID, and he had to quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel by himself. So maybe that plays a factor. But you think that guy, he was getting looked at by the whole. Yeah, he had like 15 offers. The guy, you think somebody like that should have the talent to be able to get some playing time. And then you look at quarterback. Right now, I think it's a 2-man show. It's either Vantrease or Myers. We talk about Baczynski, but we really don't know deep down how the program thinks of him. They have another 3-star recruit at that position, Brian Plummer, who was from the Virginia area. Might he be a guy down the line that gets more opportunities? Who knows? I think the issue right now is with everything that's happened with the last couple of years of COVID, transitions with coaches and stuff like that, they're kind of just sticking with the people that they know they can, quote unquote, rely on. So that's why you're seeing guys like Dominic Johnson, Keon Williams, and stuff like that, and Vantrease. But I do think we are getting to the point where, like you said, if they lose to Ohio, you have to put Myers in the game. And it's not even about sacrificing the rest of the season. Just look at what Myers does every time he's in the game. He's obviously a much better athlete who can make plays for himself. I also think Myers can throw the ball around a little bit. And that was part of the reason why I liked Myers when he was a freshman and he won the job over Vantrease. I think he has the ability to open a lot of things on this offense. Now, what I want to see Coach Mo do, because I don't think he's just going to name Myers the starting quarterback, but I do think he wants to continue to get Myers into the game. If you're going to do that, let Myers throw the ball on occasion. What's it going to do? It's not going to kill you. If anything, it opens things up even more. Because right now, defenses, they know every time Myers is in the game, it's either going to be a handoff where a guy's going to go up the middle on a draw, or he's going to roll to his left most likely and try to get some yardage. And has it been effective? Yes, but at some point it's going to get stale and it's not going to work anymore. So I would love UB to kind of turn that into a little bit of an option where fake the handoff or maybe roll out, drop back in the pocket, and try to go over the top. I think maybe they've been working towards this the whole year, but I think it's the time to where we have given them leeway to do what they want, but at some point you need to start showing some results. And right now you're getting to the part of the MAC schedule where you're playing inferior teams. You need the results now. It's no more you're playing Nebraska, you're outmatched. You're playing Coastal Carolina, you're outmatched. No, this week you're playing 1-5 Ohio, which is one of the bottom 20 teams in the country, as hard as that is for me to say. Show that you are vastly superior to them.
I mean, and if you're not, there's some problems. I mean, I think I'll even get to the point, if they don't take care of Ohio, I'll even start saying to the point, it's below my expectations. And I generally, somehow, I'm the lowest one on the totem pole with expectations. And that's a perfect time for the update of the day. That's this bullet point standings. Maniac comes in at a 3-3 picking the balls. That's struggling Maniac. He's a 500 balls picker. Go to Rob, 4-2. Impressed by Rob, 4-2 so far. There's a major tie at 5-1 between Ty, Mike, and Degenerate Al. All sitting at a nice 5-1, a pretty nice 5-1. And then there's me, 6-0, leading the pack. As we get into Ohio, you guys don't know how bad that I wanted to pick them. Ohio's just not good. They're just not good. Ohio's not good. I'm sorry, Mike. They're just not.
I don't like that you just mentioned the standings for the first time the week after the tie ended.
It's halfway through.
The reason I don't like it is, like, deep down, I know that you are leading the standings.
Yeah.
But we all kind of know that, like, I picked Kent State as a way to kind of break the tie. I picked Buffalo to break that tie.
Okay.
And I didn't really believe in my pick. I mean, I basically said that the last time I spoke with you. I'm like, I'm going to go with Buffalo against Kent, but it's more to break things up. And you were on the good side. I was on the bad side. So I give you credit, but
you were going to have some games down the stretch to make up on me because I don't know where you're going with that at Miami game versus NIU and at Ball, but those are going to be 3 games.
Those are going to be the deciders, yeah.
There's probably going to be 3 games in there that are going to make or break because, we got Ohio and Akron. Let's be honest. I do believe, regardless of how the games play out, the majority of the bullet points crew, if not all, will probably take UB in both of those games.
I do have the picks by everybody.
Okay. Well, Michael drop them tomorrow.
So yeah, we'll break them tomorrow. But there is one score that is an outlier, but it's not mine. We're all going in the blue and white, but there's a
I think I know what you're talking about.
There's a 69-0 score prediction. So take that for what it's worth.
Well. It could be right on the winning side, but I don't know how right it's going to be with the score prediction because I'm going to be shocked if either of these teams win by more than 4 to 9 point range. I would be absolutely floored in this game, but anything can happen. I guess Ohio could come to UB and just lay an egg, I guess.
So that's interesting with how you think it's going to be close because the line this week is -9, which I thought that was pretty high considering that Ohio's been strong in MAC play and UB has had back-to-back. I have UB winning.
I mean, I'm taking the points. I'm taking the points all day. I think UB wins. I mean, you just said, the crew takes UB, and I think, it'll be consistent through Akron game next week, a total sweep there as well to get UB back in the – if they do win back-to-back, guys, I will say, I don't mean to take a turn for the negative here talking about games down the road, but if they do win back-to-back, which is possible, probable even, they are right back in it. You really just need Kent to lose to WMU here next week, or this week, excuse me, and then you need Ohio and Miami to come up big for you, someone to take care of them, and then you're in a 3-way tie. Things can happen. I don't know what will happen.
That's the only saving grace is that the MAC West is so strong that you're going to have MAC West teams that could beat Kent, but God, you're really open for a 3-way tiebreaker at 6-2, or somehow Kent losing 3 games out of the next 6. That's tough. That's really tough.
That defense is scary bad, man. I kind of look at the Chiefs style. They're the Chiefs version in the MAC, in terms of how they play. So it really is kind of like that. And it's it's possible that they can drop some games because the defense is worse than I thought. I'll be honest. I did not expect Kent State's defense to be that poor. It's bad.
Yeah,
so I do think you can't let up that many points in a quarter. I mean, they're going to have some faults down the stretch. I do think they'll come out the way into the championship game and maybe put up a good fight because they can score, but that's not a good performance. I mean, but hey, I was trying to be positive. I think that there's some scenario where late in the season, you could be going into that, we'll call it the Bowling Green game. Maybe you can win that even. And then all of a sudden, things could get a little nutty. Miami needs to help you a little bit or something. You never know.
At this point, I'm not even worried about the division. I'm just saying get to 7 wins, get a bowl game. I checked ESPN bowl projections just for the sake of it. And I saw one of them had UB going bowling even at 2 and 4. I mean, there's enough bowl games. I think 84 teams out of 130 go bowling. So
you need 5. Let's count it out right now. So you'd have Akron, Ohio. That's 2. You got to beat Bowling Green. That's 3. You can only lose 1 game, Mike. So, you got to take care of Miami on the road, take care of the home game against NIU. You got to really rail off 5 in a row before maybe the Ball State game, which might not even matter. There isn't.
It's not going to be easy, but that's the focus going forward.
You essentially have to win 5 in a row.
How have we gotten 30 minutes in, and you haven't even razzed me about being an Ohio alum yet? I mean, we've mentioned it, but I'm surprised.
Well, I think it's, for me, it's they suck. There's really nothing to even say other than they suck. Really, their football team's terrible. Yeah. Come on, I'm the one of the 6 of us or 5 of us that says, UB basketball is going to have a challenge against Ohio. Thank God they lost Preston. But
if this was basketball, this would be
it'd be a different story. To me, I don't even know. Am I clowning you for a 7-point UB home win? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Rob will probably take things up a level at some point. But I will say this. I've heard many UB fans over the years refer to Ohio as a somewhat rival, which I always kind of find kind of funny. My perspective on this, just to go a little bit into it, I don't think Ohio and UB are really rivals, in my opinion. I don't think Ohio fans view UB as a rivalry, and I don't even mean that as something to be disrespectful. It's in Ohio, they hate Miami just because they view them. That's a natural rivalry they've had forever, and they view them as just a bunch of preppy, annoying kids. They have a geographic rivalry with Marshall that goes back decades, even though they're not in the same conference. When they play each other in football, it does get quite a bit intense because Marshall looks down on the MAC, and Ohio fans like to think of Marshall fans as hillbillies. And then there's a little bit of that Akron, Kent State bad blood in basketball. I do understand why UB fans think of Ohio as a rival. Got to go back to the MAC championship game, Leon Williams. Then a couple of years with Reggie, Ohio killed UB's hopes. And there is some nice blood on the basketball side of things. But this one thing I will say, even though I don't view this as a rivalry, I think UB and Ohio has been one of the consistently good matchups in the MAC for football and basketball for a decade plus. Whenever these teams hit the field, it's normally a competitive game and something happens. Even when UB wasn't good at football for a long period of time, they would still find a way to beat Ohio at home. And basketball back and forth. So, like I said, yeah, I'm looking forward to these games because even though it tears me apart, these are always fun ones. And I don't have the record on top of me, but UB against Ohio at UB Stadium is something crazy, if my recollection serves.
Yeah, it is. And there's going to be like basketball coverage. So it's a good time to talk about it. I think we had a great 33-minute show here, Mike. There is going to be great basketball content coming up in the next couple of weeks. UB came in 60th?
60th, and that's 60th. Pretty impressive. Just think about Big Four. You're going to have Bana 19th, UB 60th. If UB can beat Bana early in the year, that's a conversation for another day. But with this, so some of the teams on UB's schedule, they can get a couple wins early, and we could be talking about a Nate Oates type special season here.
They did take the lead. I think Ohio's right there with them, but they did take the lead in the MAC, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
On Preston's that special to me. He's a guy that even early on in his career, I'm like, this guy's gonna suck to play against. It's just not going to be fun. And he showed it last year in the finals, the MAC finals. I thought UB was coming in hotter. I thought they looked a little bit better. And Preston's just like, nah, like, we're going to take this from you. And UB just laid an egg. And this season kind of reversed though. You coming in with Janathan Williams, and you're going to come in with, Josh Mbala and Ronaldo Segu, and we'll see what they have out of the recruits. Coach Jack's son. There's some
so much talent. This UB team. Oh God.
They might be finally deeper than they've been under Jim White. So the problem, they couldn't put anyone off the bench last year. They didn't have anyone off the bench, zero.
This team needs to be a 23, 24, 25 win team with a net ranking in the top 50. Honestly,
possible.
If they can do that, you can get like a 10 or 11 seed for this squad. And God, it's so you're talking through Janathan, Rondo, and Mbala. And now they finally got some depth and young guys coming in. God, if they don't get it done this year, they never will.
It's very possible. And to Mike's point, you got Michigan, North Texas. You're playing Rider, Stephen F. Austin, St. Bonaventure, Western
Kentucky, yeah.
Canisius, UC Irvine. They're trying to schedule even some decent names in other conferences, not huge. And then they get into the MAC schedule from there. But early on, November 10th, Big Ten Network, 6:30 p.m. against Michigan. And then, they're just going to play on the road for a little bit, going to North Texas. It's going to be fun, Mike. Lots to look forward to in UB land, even if something goes south here in the UB football schedule. Hopefully, Coach Mo gets a whole offseason, can be a little bit more aggressive with play calling, defensively even too, down the stretch. Give some struggling corners some help. We saw that, their reluctancy to do something different against Cephas.
Help them, please.
You couldn't stay in man coverage anymore, and they stayed in man coverage. I don't know. I don't know. Like it just.
If Ohio goes over the top, then it's not going to get better. That's the one thing I didn't even get to this matchup. You know what? Ohio can't throw the ball with Armani in the game. So really, if UB's secondary looks bad against Ohio, then they're one of the worst in the country because Ohio can't throw the ball.
Spoiler alert, it might. And anyways, and I mean, it was bad last year. They lost some players and it got worse. It's not a good unit. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just speaking realistic. Like, I want it to be good.
One day.
I really wish it was good. They've had some Cam Lewis is an NFL player. He's a legitimate backup slot cornerback in the NFL who played super good. They've had talent at this group, and they had talent throughout different years. It's not right now, though, Mike, and it's not a good unit. It is kind of helped a little bit at times by the front seven, but that back four is just it's just poor, and you can't win with that poor of a back four. Even in the MAC, you saw it from Crum. Getting into this matchup, though, Mike, are we going to do score predictions? Or are we going to wait for Friday? What's the deal with
Let's just do it.
All right. Bounce it to you, score prediction, and why. Keys to the matchup.
Well, obviously Ohio, because they're the best university in the Midwest, the Harvard on the Hocking.
And Mike got muted. So I'm going to let's hear it, Mike.
But if I'm going to be serious, my prediction will be Buffalo 27-24. I think this is a game where we're going to see both units bounce back. I think the offense is going to look good. They're going to pass the ball a lot more, I think, than they have in recent memory. But you know what? They don't even need to pass the ball because Ohio can't stop the run. Ohio allows 240-plus yards a game on the ground, and they will have no answer for the three-headed monster of UB running backs. I think the score is going to be closer than what the actual contest will be. I say 27-24. Would not surprise me if Buffalo wins this one by double digits. They're the better team. Only thing that scares me is we just saw UB struggle against a mobile
running quarterback. Yep.
Armani Rogers is one of the best runners in the conference. So that's the only thing that gives me a slight pause. But other than that, I feel pretty confident despite my close score prediction.
Yeah, and I didn't realize you were so close. 28-24 UB. I don't think they're going to struggle against a running quarterback. Ohio's going to be able to keep the ball a little bit to help out their defense. I think the running game of UB is going to prove to be too much for Ohio, but Ohio's going to have its moments. UB needs to adjust to a running quarterback. They struggled against Western Michigan's Ellaby, and he had not run at all prior to the UB game. A running mobile quarterback like Crum, and now Monty Rogers in this case, they need to say, all right, if he beats me deep and he's more accurate than 50%, well, kudos to you. You made a couple plays. You can't have him beating you with his legs. You need to run DE contained. You need to have a mush rush. You need to do different things to keep him in the pocket. You need to keep him in the pocket. Keep him in the pocket. Make him throw. Going to be a good day for UB. They don't break contain, gets to the edge, may even make a throw or two at that point. It's going to be trouble for UB, especially because Rourke didn't play last week. Was he hurt, or are they just straight up saying no more?
I didn't pay enough attention to that going in, so I'm not sure. But one thing I will tell you, this Ohio team does not have a Dante Cephas. They do not have a Keyshawn Abram. Their two top receivers are Cam Odom and Tyler Walton. They both have around 200 yards on the year. They both have around 20 catches. I think one has 16, the other one has 20. They're decent players, but they're not guys that are going to kill you. They don't put the fear into opposing D coordinators. They have a couple tight ends that are decent that I actually covered in high school when I went to Ohio University. So it's crazy that they're still playing college football when I was covering them when they were in high school, but in the Lerman brothers, but they just don't have enough weapons. If Ohio can't run the ball, they're going to struggle. And I just think they're too one-dimensional. This is a game UB has to win.
Fair enough. You heard it from Mike. You heard it from me. Get down to Hartman's Distilling with some of the best locally brewed vodka and all other spirits right there. Logan Berry style. I cannot wait I'm not kidding. I can't wait to get my hands on a bottle, hoping that, I'll be in the Buffalo region. I am already in the Buffalo region, but I'll be in the Buffalo area tomorrow, hoping that Al's gonna get me going on some. I cannot wait to get in touch with Hartman's. What a great product. And I'll have it here too soon for our next show. So pretty excited about that. So get out there, try it out. Hartman's, we really appreciate it. Great action-packed show though, Mike. Like just so much to cover. We'll be right back at you in our normal slot Friday, correct? Next Friday. And we'll also bring some great content around basketball, because sooner or later, I don't know if we're going to do dual shows. I don't know if we're going to do some mashups. Everybody knows that basketball is a good passion of this group that we have here at Bullet Points. So we're going to bring some great basketball content all season long for a potentially top 60, maybe top 50 season from UB basketball. The expectations high. We kept all these players, Mike. This is when the fruits of those labors need to pay off. This is what we've been promised, that no one left. Strong upper end seniors, potentially depth now after a couple of years of not having any post outs. Lots to look forward to in UB basketball. So stay tuned for that season coming up November 10th with some big games to kind of finish off this MAC football season as well. So going to be a lot of great UB content in November and December, heading into finals footballs, maybe a bowl season, and then maybe MAC play for basketball. Mike, appreciate you, but it's time to get out of here. Good night now.